2347, 2348, 2349, 2350. Sento Nadu Wamako Sokotono.
Mr. President, I remain Aliu M. Wama, Provincial North Central District. I rise to move that the vote of procedure of Wednesday, 24th April 2019 be approved. I so move. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Lam Taraban North.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Isa Shoaib Ulau, Taraba North. I rise to second the motion that the vote and proceedings of Wednesday, 24th April 2019 be approved. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 24th April be approved, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 24th April 2019 is hereby approved. Leader of the Senate. Petition Senator Ababasaka.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished and respected colleagues, Mr. President, I have a petition from Fabian Okechukwu against the Nigerian Navy for unlawful dismissal. There is no legal remedy sought. May I please listen?
Yeah, come and lead the petition.
Point of order.
Petition referred to ethics and privileges report back in 2 weeks. Yes, point of order.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ahmed Babaketa, representing Katsina North. Mr. President, I'm coming under Order 43, which state, by the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation although there may be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward or may be debated arising from the explanation. The term of the proposed statement shall be submitted in details to the President of the Senate when his leave to make this sort.
Yeah, go ahead.
To bring the notice of the Senate of the demise of late Honorable Justice Maman Nasser. This is a bill sponsored by our senior colleague, Senator Abu, a motion by Senator Abu Ibrahim, Senator Kurfi, Senator Wamako, and 56 other senators. Mr. President, the motion notes with sadness and grief the demise of our dear erudite jurist, a pioneer of the legal profession, an astute politician and public servant that was totally dedicated to the cause of our nation, Nigeria, and foremost traditional ruler. Further notes with deep sense of loss the third demise of the revered former Minister of Justice of Northern Nigeria, a Justice of the Supreme Court, and the President of the Court of Appeal. Recall that the late Justice Maman Nasser, GCON, was born on 22nd of July 1929 into the famous family of Galadinchi in Malumfashi local government area of Katsina State and died on the 13th April 2019 at the age of 90 years. Also note that the deceased jurist was an alumnus of the prestigious University of Ibadan as well as the Council of Legal Education in London, where he obtained bachelor degrees in engineering in 1950 and law in London in November 1955. He held secondary school education at Kaduna College, where he graduated in 1947. The Senate recalled that the deceased was a former Minister of Justice of Northern Nigeria, Supreme Court judge, and a president of Court of Appeal. And during his lifetime, he occupied the bench with an unquestionable integrity, character, dignity, and hard work, leaving behind indelible footprints and enduring legacies in the Nigerian judiciary. Also recall that the deceased was also made the Director of Public Prosecution of the North Central State and later Solicitor General and Attorney General of the North Central State. Aware that he brought a lot of judicial and legal transformation, he established the Sharia Court of Appeal, and the Customary Court. Mr. President, distinguished Senator, the House also is aware that the minister and official member of the House, he was a minister and official member of House of Assembly. He contributed immensely in the legislative proceedings and also participated in constitutional conferences. He was a key factor in the provision of a penal court and various ethnics in northern Nigeria and Nigeria at large, as well as a law report. Further aware that he is the founder of the Nigerian Law School, observed that the deceased was a patriot, a nationalist whose devotion to the development of the entire Nigeria, especially in the legal profession, spurred him into writing several books to help the young and upcoming lawyers and also serve in other capacities. He was also a trained engineer. He supervised the construction of several projects, such as the construction of the historic clock tower at the gate of the Emir Palace in 1951 in Katsina. He also survived the construction of a clinic of Dusi, of a large clinic in Dusi and an art dam in Musawa, all in Katsina State. Further observed that the late Justice Maman Nasser was the district head of Malumfashi, was a fair, impartial, and courageous, peace-loving person who never hesitated to step into the arena of conflict, even in non-judicial assignment, to reconcile feuding parties. This role he has played to his death. Recall that a statement to his distinction in public service, the late Justice and District Head was a two-time awardee of prestigious national awards, the Commander of the Order of the Niger in 1965, and Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger by the President during the Babangida administration. Further recall that the deceased was a member of several committees and commissions, both state and federal level. He is married with children. We mourn and commiserate with the Nigerian judiciary, the government and good people of Katsina State over the sad passing of this erudite jurist. Resolves that 1 minute silence in honor of the late Maman Nasir be observed. 2, to constitute and set a high-powered delegation to commiserate with the family, government, and people of Katsina State over the loss of this patriotic Nigerian and illustrious son of the state. Lastly, to urge the federal government of Nigeria to immortalize the late Justice Maman Nasir, CON, GCON, by naming a national monument in his honor. I so move this.
Thank you very much, Distinguished Senator Keita. Unfortunately, Distinguished Senator Keita came under Order 43, question explanation, so I will not be able to take contributions from other members, but on behalf of the entire 8 Senate, our colleagues here, it's a great loss, not only to the judiciary, to Nigeria, to people of Katsina State, He's a gentleman that lived up to the last year's 90, contributing to this great country. He'll be greatly missed. He's left his mark. And on behalf of the Senate, let us condole the people of Katsina and the family. And I would rule from here that we rise up, observe 1 minute silence, and also that we do put a delegation. I think leader has been, but to send another delegation again to commiserate with the family and convey the messages from the Senate and National Assembly. So let us stand up and observe 1 minute silence in honor of Justin Nassau. James will rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, very distinguished and respected colleagues. The first business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Federal Capital Territory Area Council Service Commission Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Capital Territory Area Council Service Commission Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, HB 975, first reading.
Federal Capital Territory Area Council Service Commission Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, HB 975, first reading taken. Leader of Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is also the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Public Holiday Act Amendment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Public Holiday Act Amendment Bill 2019, HB 918 and HB 1529, first reading.
Public Holiday Act Amendment Bill 2019, HB 918 and 1529, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is a motion standing in my name on the withholding of assent on the following bills pursuant to Section 58, Subsection 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. 1. Federal University Wukari Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. 2. Nigerian Film Commission Bill 2019. And 3. Nigerian Aeronautical Search and Rescue Bill 2019. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move the motion. The Senate recalls that the Presidency in C has signified the withholding of its assent on the following bills pursuant to Section 58, Subsection 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. The bills are 1. Federal University of Wukari Establishment Bill 2019, 2. Nigerian Film Commission Bill 2019, and 3. Nigerian Aeronautical Search and Rescue Bill 2019. The Senate also notes that the rationale for withholding the asset borders on the observation of Mr. President on some clauses in the bills. The Senate is aware that the Technical Committee of the Senate had worked on Mr. President's observations and have drafted the affected clauses. Relying on Section 88B of the Senate rule, the Senate accordingly resolves to refer the bills to the Committee of the Whole for consideration and passage.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bill be referred to the appropriate committee.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolves into committee of the whole to consider the bills accordingly.
Mr. President, may I second the motion that the Senate resolve into a committee of the whole to consider these bills?
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, we have three bills here. The first bill, which is the Federal University Carry Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. There are just three clauses here. So I'll put the questions. Those in favor that clause 1A stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 19, 1A, B, C, D stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 25, 6 and 7 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the third schedule stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The next bill is the bill to act to repeal the Nigerian Film Commission Bill 2019. There are three clauses here. First clause, clause 1, 3D and 3E. Those in favor that they stay deleted, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6, 1K and 6 on clause 6, 2D. Those in favor that they stay deleted, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And the last one is the bill on Nigeria Aeronautical Search and Rescue Bill 2019. There are two clauses here. Clause 1, clause 1, 2, and clause 1, 3. Those in favor that this stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title on page 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse plenary for the charge report progress.
Mr. Chairman, I second that the Senate revert to plenary to report progress.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the Federal University of Bukhari Establishment, etc. Bill 2019 and approved as follows. Clauses 9, 1A as recommended, 19, 1A to C as recommended, 25, 6 to 7 as recommended, third schedule as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the Nigerian Film Commission Bill 2019 and approved as follows: Clause 1, 3D to E as recommended, Clause 6(1)K as recommended, and Clause 2D as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Yes. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Nigeria Aeronautical Search and Rescue Bill 2019 and approved as follows: Clause 1 to 3 as recommended, Clause 19 to 24 as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Clerk of Senate is directed to reflect the amendment in the bills accordingly as passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is a motion standing in the name of Senator Shehu Sani and 108 others on the senseless killing of a Briton and the abduction of 3 others in a holiday resort in Kaduna State by armed bandits. Mr. President, you recall that yesterday, Wednesday, the 24th day of April 2019, the Senate, by Order 42, Sub 2 of our standing order, approved that this motion be moved on the next legislative day, which is today. Accordingly, you may wish to invite Senator Shehu Sani to move his motion.
Senator Shehu Sani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand as Comrade Senator Shehu Sani, Kaduna Central. Mr. President, the Senate informed of the gruesome Angori attack on a holiday resort in Kajuru local government of Kaduna State, the killing of a 29-year-old Briton Spy Mooney and another Nigerian, and the abduction of 3 others on Friday, the 19th of April 2019. Note with sympathy and total dismay that the wave and speed of armed banditry and kidnapping in most parts of the country, from the north, south, east, and western part of the country, without a formidable and technological approach to fighting the heinous crime. Worried that in recent times the attacks on individuals, houses, and villages have become one too many, and there is no single person that has been brought to book as a result of the wanton killings, and the so much emphasized effort at combating the crime is not yielding fruitful results. More worrying that due to the fact that perpetrators of these hideous activities tend to be gaining more courage to perpetrate their dastardly acts without fear of confrontation due to their acclaimed superior firepower. Further worried that the unfortunate event of 19th April 2019, where armed gunmen raided a resort called Kajuru Resort in Kajuru, local government area of Kaduna State, a Briton, Ms. Spy Mooney, and a Nigerian, Mr. Matthew Oguchi, were killed and 3 others abducted, has put more fears into Nigerians. Ms. Spy Mooney was a humanitarian worker with an NGO called Mercy Corps, who had worked in war-torn countries like Iraq and Kosovo, and helping the needy, the vulnerable, and internally displaced persons. Recall that earlier in the year, President Muhammad Buhari has ordered senior security chiefs to curb kidnapping in the region when 4 Western tourists, 2 Americans and 2 Canadians, were abducted in Kaduna in an ambush in January that left 2 of their police escorts dead. Concerned that the recurrence of this banditry, where foreigners and tourists are involved, may put Nigeria's diplomatic relations on the line, thereby raising red flags to other tourists who may wish to visit Nigeria. Concerned further that the northern parts of Nigeria has become a theater of killings and kidnappings, especially states like Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, Kaduna, and Niger. Kajuru in Kaduna State is notorious for killings and kidnappings. Recall the death of Agon Adara, Dr. Mewadara Fel Galadima, dead last year, who was killed by kidnappers after collecting ransom. It is pathetic to note that this area has become hostile to both visitors and the inhabitants who have resorted to collecting ransoms. It is pathetic to note that this area has become hostile for both visitors and inhabitants who have resorted to internally displaced persons camp. Some elders of this area are right now cooling off in various prisons in Kaduna State. In Bindungwari, life has become unbearable for the people because over 40 villages came under attack recently, and in some instances with kidnappers sending notices before carrying out their attack. These people have killed thousands, including children, raped women, and have gone further to stop the villagers from going to their farms. Worthy of concern also is the spate of killing and kidnapping that has found base in Zamfara and Niger State. In Munya local government of Niger State, over 20 households were kidnapped, and areas such as Kushaka, Kurebe, Pandogari, Idigori, Kusharki, Kuregi, Aralawa, Kwaki, Bataro, Chukuba, Shafa, Kauri, and Zazaga in Rafi local government are under serious siege by kidnappers. Other areas under siege include Kakangi, Gayam, Danganji, Maganda, Dawari, and Kazaki. Distinguished colleagues, you will be astonished to hear that the kidnappers had the audacity to write and warn a member representing Bindungwari local government in the House of Representatives, Honorable Hassan Adamu, warning him of his activities, thereby forcing him to evacuate his family from the area. Distinguished colleagues, as I present this motion, negotiation is going on to pay the ransom of the abductees of the Kajuru incident. The abductors had earlier demanded for 60 million naira as ransom. Consoled by the recent presence of a joint patrol team of the police, Army, Air Force, and some paramilitary outfits on the Abuja-Kaduna Express Road, and even though the Hitato deserted road, which forced people to resort to using the train, is bubbling back to life, these unfortunate acts have continued unabated. Determined to change this ugly narrative, the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria cannot fold its hands and watch the degeneration of Nigeria's security because, in the words of Adams Jane, the good we secure for ourselves is precarious and uncertain until it is secured for all of us and incorporated in our common life. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to the prayers. 1. Observe a minute silence in honor of the departed souls. Urge the security of agencies to intensify the search for the perpetrators and bring them to book. Urge the government to set up inter-agency task force to tackle cases of banditry and kidnapping in Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, and Niger State. Urge security agencies to give special security cover to foreign workers and tourists. Urge security agencies to deploy the use of drones and interceptors in tracking kidnappers asking for ransom. Urge community leaders, traditional rulers, and all stakeholders to cooperate with security agencies. Urge the telecommunication companies to provide security agencies with information in areas where there are kidnappings. Urge the Senate to send a delegation to the British Embassy and condole the British government. And urge the federal government to write a condolence letter to the family of Ms. Baya Moni. I so move.
Deputy Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Very distinguished colleagues, I rise to second this motion and to thank the sponsor, Senator Shem Sani, for allowing me and most of our colleagues to be co-sponsors of this motion. Having said this, let me use the opportunity also to send my condolences to the families of the victims and to all Nigerians who are today living in fear over kidnapping. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the tragedy of what has happened is that this is not the first time a non-Nigerian is falling victim to kidnappers in Nigeria, especially the construction workers. Today, when they are bidding for contracts, especially the foreign contractors, they always impute into their cost some amount to use as ransom when their workers are kidnapped. This, therefore, is increasing the cost of construction in Nigeria. And so, it means, therefore, that we must take this very seriously because the implications are so many. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is obvious that with what has happened in Kaduna and has happened in other places, Nigerians will continue to be profiled abroad as those who cannot be trusted. It affects innocent Nigerians who travel out of Nigeria. And so we need to do something about this. As has been said, food security is also affected because people have abandoned their farms. It's no more safe to go to the farm anywhere in Nigeria because of the fear of being kidnapped. Those who would like to come to Nigeria as a tourist place, we now have to think twice before coming to Nigeria. So it's therefore affecting our tourism, and it's also affecting our direct foreign investment. So there are so many implications for us as a country. That's why we need to do something about this. And this has been sustained over time. And it doesn't appear to me that we're getting it right. So we must take drastic measures in order to address this problem. And I believe too, sir, that we need to share the experience of those who have been victims of this kidnapping. There are so many stories to tell our security agencies that can help them to deal with this situation. Because sometimes people are kidnapped, ransoms are paid, they are released, and then walk back to their homes. They never share the experience with anybody. In fact, this morning, I was reading about a victim who was kidnapped with about 35 others between Abuja and Kaduna. They were marched through a forest for upwards of 6 to about 12 hours. They take like 12 hours to get to their destination. And where is this destination? It turned out to be a colony of kidnappers. Kidnappers, they had their own different parts of that community where they keep their victims. And so eventually they were released, or some of them were released. They took another 8 hours to the point where they were picked up by their relatives. If they share this kind of information with security agencies, I'm sure it can help to find out where this kind of colony exists between Kaduna and Abuja. In fact, one of the stories ladies told in that narrative was that one of the people that was kidnapped happened to be a custom officer. And so the kidnappers were interested in him because they believed that he's part of the government and the government is not doing anything to help the ordinary people. So they kept beating the custom officer. So this lady now suggested to the custom officer to tell the kidnappers that he was indeed a fake custom officer, that he wasn't a real custom officer. That he just printed the identity of custom officers to enable him do his business, which is smuggling. That he wasn't actually a custom officer. And that was what that actually helped his matter. So they had to bring down the amount he was supposed to bring from 10 million to 5 million. So if we have this kind of conversation, zone by zone, with those who have been kidnapped in the past, and hear their stories, I believe that this can help our security agencies. But to ignore them and believe as if it won't happen means that next day it will happen to some other people. So we need to take notes from all those who have been kidnapped in the past
either from state by state or zone by zone. And this will help us to build, some information bank that can help our security agencies in dealing with this matter. And today I also believe that there are a lot of technology we can deploy in order to help us to deal with this issue of kidnapping. But we don't seem to be taking advantage of it, or they are being sabotaged. So the time has come for us to take it seriously. And of course here, we've been singing the song of decentralizing our police. Until we do that, we'll continue to battle with this problem. Time has come for us to fast track the existing bill in this National Assembly to introduce a decentralized policing, so that at least states be able to have their own police and deal with the issue of kidnapping as it affects their own locality the best way they can. Because this has turned to be a matter of embarrassment for us as a country. And until we begin to fight these things, we're going to have problems. And finally, sir, it is also important for us to take this seriously because of the national image that we need to protect. And if it means declaring a national state of emergency across Nigeria to enable the government to put in place measures that will address this once and for all, I think it is worth doing. So this is something we need to do seriously. And I believe that with what has happened to the Britain, it is important that we show the whole world that we are eager to solve this problem and to do it as quickly as possible. So my heartfelt condolences goes again to the families, both the British people and then to the Nigerians who were affected. And we believe and pray that this will not happen again in our country.
Senator Idane.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Joshua Lidani. I represent in the South. I rise to lend my support to this motion. This motion is one out of many motions that keep coming before these chambers. So much so that nowadays we don't ask whether a minute silence has been said in the chambers. We ask whether or who a minute silence was said for. Because it has become routine now. Every day we come and observe a minute silence in respect of killings that have been going on in this country. Incidentally, this incident that happened in Kajuru, I was going through the social media the other day when there was a travel agency that advertised for a holiday package in Kajuru Castle over the Easter period. And somebody was asking on the same page, what of the killings that are going on? And then the agency replied that no, the killing is taking place somewhere not close to Kajuru. And I was even thinking to myself whether one day I'll pay a visit to that place to see whether it's a place that one could go and have a rest. And then this thing happened. Mr. President, the implication of this thing is very, very far-reaching because it goes outside the shores of this country. It affects the tourism of this country. Because very soon now we hear Britain issuing a travel advisory warning its nationals against traveling to Nigeria because the country is not safe. We'll also hear US issuing a travel advisory to its nationals warning against going to Nigeria because the country is unsafe. Mr. President, this thing is becoming, Nigeria is becoming a killing field. Every day we are treated to tales of murder, mayhem, kidnapping. In fact, armed robbery is no longer now in vogue. It is kidnapping because it's easier to make money through kidnapping than through armed robbery. So, Mr. President, it's a very, very sad commentary on the affairs of this country, the level to which security situation has degenerated. It will have its effect on investment. They say that investment is a coward. Whenever there is trouble anywhere, he wouldn't like to go there. So investment certainly will not come to Nigeria when we have this kind of challenges. Also, tourism will be affected. And these are areas in which revenue can accrue to the government coffers, and then this source of revenue is now being blocked. What do we do as a country? How do we put an end to this? somebody suggested that we need to do something drastic. Yes, I support that. We do something drastic, something that we have not contemplated before. Because if this matter is getting out of hand, we need to do something that is unusual, something that we have not done before. We need to mobilize the entire armed forces. Right now, Kaduna axis is becoming endemic for kidnapping. Why don't we mobilize about 2 divisions of our army to go and surround this enclave that is the heaven of kidnappers? Give them a week, surround the entire area, and see what happens to the kidnappers. But so long as we treat it as a routine matter, a routine security issue, we send mobile police or army and they go there, after a week they come back. I don't think we'll find a solution to it. We need to do something that is very drastic. And we shouldn't be shy of asking for help. If there's any foreign country that has the technology or has the resources that can assist this country, let us not be shy of asking that country for help. Let them help us, because it's a problem that is trying to get out of hand and out of control. We don't lose our sovereignty by asking for a country for help. Even if we have to pay, let us pay that country for it to help us with the technology that we can deploy in order to ensure that this problem comes to an end. Mr. President, this is a very, very serious matter, and I feel saddened that every day we have to come here to observe a minute silence. I think it's time for us to take the bull by the horns and ask the federal government to do something drastical, something out of the box, to think out of the box and find a solution to this problem. I thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, Senator Keita.
Thank you, Mr. President. My heart and prayers go to the families of the bereaved, both the British woman and our Nigerian brothers. Having said that, I want to strongly align myself with this motion. However, just like Senator Lidani has just said now, that this is one too many. We come to the chambers every day praying for people that we can secure. Mr. President, let us be very real here. The security apparatus of Nigeria is overwhelmed. And the issue of security is not for any branch of the government, it's for all of us here. I've always raised these issues that it's not enough to just come and bring a story of losing some innocent life. What are we doing about it? As the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, what have we done to make sure that we contribute or we become a partners into securing this nation? Mr. President, distinguished senators, for every life that we lost or for every security that misfortune that we have in this country, 10 and a large number have been abated. The security people of this country, the personnel, are doing their best, and we lose them in their drops. We knew what was happening 3-4 weeks ago, and along the same Kaduna, Benugwari, Zamfara axis, Katsina, where I come from, and we know what is happening today. There is a total number of reduction of what is happening. It has not been going on. But come on, let's be real here and let's face the truth. As a Senate, we should have a legislation, we should bring a legislative framework that would enhance the security of this country. We can't just be coming here every day making the same thing, same complaint and think that we can change the narrative. We can't. We should take an articulate position. We should marshal out a plan from the chambers of the Senate, so that when the government fails to implement those, we know that the government has failed us. But with the security with less than 1.5 million personnel in every, this I'm talking about immigration, military, navy, air force. We can't secure this country. We are a country of over 160 million. So it is a wishful thinking for anybody to come here and think that the number of security that we can secure this country. Mr. President, please and please, Honorable Distinguished Senator, let's be real here and let's not just come here every day and mourn people and pray for them. Let's take an articulate, let's marshal out a plan from the chambers of the Senate to secure this country. Because my case here, or my fear here, is that even the people that we entrust our security, we are losing them. We are losing them by their day. Just 2 days ago or 3 days ago, we lost about 3 mobile policemen in an active duty along the same axis. Nobody mentioned them here. Are they not living, or are they not, is one soul better than the other? So, just like Senator Lidani has said, I'm totally in agreement with what his argument that we should come together. But let it not be that every day we just come here with motions and bills and come to the chambers of the Senate and discuss them and pray and go. If the Senate is very serious, the Nigerian Senate is very serious about Nigerian security, we have to come in contact because it's a collective thing. If we lose any Nigerian, it's not the executive that loses, it's not the judiciary that is, it's the Nigerian. When we are losing revenue, the revenue is not going to one part of the country, or it's not going to one arm of government, it's going to the entire area. When our images are battered internationally, it's the image of Nigerians. It doesn't have color or tribe or religion or which government in power. So security goes beyond all these parameters. So we have to take time and do what is right for this country now. Now that we are facing these challenges. This challenge is worse than Boko Haram because a Boko Haram case, we know the enemies we are fighting and we know where to meet them. These are people that carries AK-47 and goes into the corners. They are part of us. And unless we all come together and see this as a collective problem, we cannot solve it. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, please let's not finish this discussion and argument without having to discuss on ways out of coming out of this long jump. Because as long as we just come here and flash that we lost a Britain and with some other Nigerians, and we are discussing ransom here, we will not solve the problem. Let the Nigerian Senate articulate a plan today, or starting from today, that we should have a minimum number of 5 million troops to secure this country. A minimum, we can do it, then we provide for the funding. In our budget, we do the funding so that we can secure this country. But we cannot come and be playing games with these issues of losing lives. This is one too many. Please, let's do something concrete so that we avoid it. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senator Keita. Before we take more contributions, I just want to emphasize, if you all remember yesterday, where I passed middle silence and condoled the family and sent messages to the embassy. But the Deputy Senate President rightly stood up and said it goes beyond just this individual worker, both the Nigerian, and there are a lot of issues that we need to address because the way the series of killings are going on. Now, and that's why we brought it today, and in line with the last speaker, is that we must begin to look at what are the solutions. Why I'm coming in now is because I don't want everybody to get up and just, speak without us talking about what is the way forward. And when we talk about way forward, we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to talk as really senators in this upper chamber, because in addressing these issues, we need to be frontal on what has led us to where we are today. And we must not see it through our political party platform and see it as a problem that all of us need to address. And where there is fault, we must be bold enough to say where the fault is. And where there are sanctions that need to be taken, we must be bold as well to say so. I mean, you're all in this chamber for 1 year. We could not even communicate or converse or engage with Nigerian police. You all hear where the head of the police refused to even come before here. How then can we work together to make things move forward? Because at the end of the day, we must begin to sit down with those in charge and say, what do we need to do? How do we help you? Even if we want to recruit, we can't do it from here. We need guidance. They must be able to tell us, this is what we need. So we must, but I agree with the last speaker, those who are contributing, let us contribute with solutions. Let us contribute with what is the way forward. What do we need to do? That is the only way we can truly show that we are serious, and that's the only way we can honor those who have died in coming up with what is the way forward. Because here is a lady that used to work in Iraq and Kosovo. She didn't die in Iraq and Kosovo, but it's when she came to Nigeria. That does not portray this country in any way at all. And as Senator Lidanisa and DSP says, there's going to be questions of people coming to invest in a country like this. And today, Abuja, Kaduna Road, everybody has left it. As I was told now, everybody's going by train. Nothing is happening to address that. I think these are things that we all need to list them, and those contributing, let us come with solutions. But in doing that, please, you must be bold enough to put where the blame is and what solutions you need to. Senator Keita, I have not recognized you, please. So let us, but on a serious, if we want to politicize it, we will not make forward. I think we need to decide whether we want to really find a solution or we just want to play to the gallery. So, and I think if we know we want to find solutions, then let us, look at it and address and come up with suggestions that will make things better. In the past, kidnappings used to be done in the cities. Now you're having villagers too, people going to local governments. It's a big problem, and we need to find what do we do. And so please, those who are contributing, please try and contributing, as I say, as Nigerian, as senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, so that we can come up with some recommendations that we can add to the prayers. So I'll take a contribution from this. Senator Boucher.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished senators. My name is Senator Emmanuel Boucher. I come from Taraba State. Mr. President, I rise to support this motion because I come from a flashpoint. And anytime we discussing security in this chamber, it pains me because on a daily basis, the matter keeps surfacing. It will interest my colleagues to know that Nigeria is one of the, even the most unsafest place to stay in the world now. Unfortunately, the consequences of, or the resultant effects of the actions of this bandit lies in wait for us in the future. Because like you said, Mr. President, the matter is no longer urbanized now, it's moved to the rural areas. And farmers no longer go to farms. The long-term effect will be catastrophic. Now, I don't want to go into the dangers ahead, but like you said, let us discuss the way forward. Until recently, from my own community, that my confidence in the security operatives around there was restored when I saw a number of them gone down, I think about 5 or 6, because the insinuation or the innuendo then was that some of these kidnappers have direct link with some security operatives. That is a very popular suspicion. In my encounter with one of the victims, he said to me that they told him he has to pay this ransom what they want, not what he is suggesting, because they need an amount that will settle all interest groups involved in the business. According to him, they will give police, they will give army, and things like that. Now, when we talk of these security operatives, we are talking about those who are down there the ladder. Maybe those up there may not even know these things. It is important that the world should know, Nigerians should know this. Now, still on way forward, I want to suggest, Mr. President, that the issues that we are running away from, particularly the issue of state police, which we are running away from, has become the most important solution that we'll look at, because we need a synergy between the security operatives and the locals. In other words, the vigilante. In every community, if there is this synergy, if there is this partnership, it will reduce this menace drastically, because these locals, they know themselves, know the criminals, and the hideout where they take these victims to can only be known by the locals. So this coalition is going to help a big time in solving or reducing this menace. Mr. President, to our security operatives again, I want to commend them for the role played in trying to ensure that there is no rigging there in the election, no rigging there in the election, in this town or that town. But this is where the kind of role they play is more needed. If we can have a massive deployment of security operatives to some of these flashpoints, I am telling you, these criminals will be smoked out. They will be smoked, there is no doubt about it. Because the number of operatives I see trying to help us to ensure that there is no rigging, if we can have that same number mobilized to some of these flashpoints, how many are these criminals? Because it's not all everywhere. There are selected places that these crimes are being committed. Of course, it's around the country, but if they see many that are being killed, I'm telling you, they will definitely change their mind. I also want to suggest that I see some states that have passed laws, banning this, or not really banning, coming up with very harsh punishment or sanctions, like capital punishment, for instance. It's also good, it's not bad, because if somebody wants to take somebody's life, he should know that his life also will be taken. We are not saying, probably from an ecclesiastical viewpoint, that an eye for an eye is good. No, we are trying to address a challenge. So as a way forward, capital punishment should not be ruled out also. I think it's going to also help. This, Mr. President, is my own opinion, my humble opinion. And I also want to suggest improved intelligence gathering. The security operatives should also move from where they are now and go further up. Intensify intelligence gathering more than what they're doing now. Because these people communicate, they use telephone, and the service providers also. We must also ensure that nobody has a telephone number that is not registered. They made a lot of noise about that. But this seems to have gone down underground, and nothing is being done about that. I think these are some of the issues that, if they are addressed, we may be able to tackle this matter frontally. I agree that we must depart from blame game, but we should also know that it is the duty of government, primary duty of government, is the protection of lives and property. Where this is failing, government must know that it is failing in its duty to protect lives and property. There is no doubt about this. No blaming game. We mustn't play politics with this. All of us are involved in this matter. The executive, the legislature, the judiciary. So we are actually failing because we cannot provide security for Nigerians. Nigerians are not safe. People no longer go to farm, and there will be no food in the nearest future. States that are classed or classified as food basket of the nation no longer go to farm. Farmers in Taraba don't go to farm. In Benue, they don't go to farm because of activities of this bandit. In Zamfara, elsewhere. So where would the food come from? So the long effect of this is yet to face us as a nation. And I pray that we may not wake up one day and be looking for what to eat. With your money, you can't get the food to buy because nobody is going to farm. Thank you, Mr. President. I pray the Lord will deliver Nigeria.
Senator Marafa.
Thank you, Mr. President. My well-respected colleagues, my name is Senator Marafa, and I represent Zamfara Central. Mr. President, I rise to lend my support and the support of my people to this very important motion brought by my very distinguished colleague and brother, Senator Shehu Sani from Kaduna State. Mr. President, I want to align myself with your wise counsel in your comments that I think what we need to be talking about is solution. But before going to the solution, Mr. President, permit me to draw the attention of my colleagues and Nigeria that the North is at war. As I am talking to you, let nobody deceive himself. There is war in the North. And unless something is done, I'm afraid the future, in the next 2-3 years, this situation might be out of control. And for those of us Nigerians, especially the elites from the North that think maybe they are taking refuge or cover in Abuja, God forbid, that might be a mirage. Because, Mr. President, these issues are far beyond what anybody maybe thinks they are. I am from Zamfara State, and I have said on several occasions on this floor, right from the time when some people thought I was playing politics to where we are today, where the realities are glaring, are staring everybody in the eyes, that Zamfara State, maybe unless something is done, in the next 2 years, there might be nobody in Zamfara State. Because as I am talking to you today, more than 75% of the people of Zamfara, male adults, cannot sleep. They don't have the comfort of sleeping with their wives or sleeping in their rooms. They don't. Everybody is out and is out, trying to guard his or her community. Women doesn't sleep and the children doesn't. Mr. President, this situation is so bad. Just yesterday, one of my constituents sent me a video, and these bandits were bold to say that this is where they are, and this is what they do, and if anybody feels he can, this is where they are, this is where their headquarters is, they can be attacked if the horrifying thing about it is you see children of just about the age of 11 years welding AK-47. Yes, this is that. It's no longer news. Everybody sees this and everybody knows where these things are and what is happening. Mr. President, you have already spoken my mind on the issue of Kaduna-Abuja road and the complacency of even the security agents and the politicians that have escorts, resorting to following the trend, struggling and fighting with women and children, to get a seat. It is a common knowledge today that there are tickets now on the train for standing. They are marked standing. So you buy a ticket and you stand all the way from Abuja to Kaduna or from Kaduna to Abuja. It is a common thing. And when you ask people, they tell you that it is better to stand from Abuja to Kaduna and you are sure that you are reaching Kaduna or you are reaching Abuja than to take the risk of following the road, and you don't have the certainty of reaching your destination. Mr. President, I have just spoken with you now, and you graciously agree that we need to come up with a motion next week to discuss this issue of the track. Mr. President, as I'm talking to you today, coming back to the point that the North is at war. In Zamfara alone now, there are more than maybe 3,000, 4,000, victims, kidnapped victims, in the hands of these people. Nobody can do anything. Just this morning, Sheikh Husani, my distinguished friend, was telling me that the bandits issued a warning to the member representing Birnungwari Federal Constituency, about his habit that when people are kidnapped, he sends a meager amount, as his own contribution. And unless they don't catch him, that he should know that his days are numbered. And this is the situation with everybody. So, Mr. President, now, this thing is not reducing by the day. Why? Because it has long become a business. I have said it several times here. Anytime people talked about this issue, they talk about Fulani headsmen. I say, look, give these people the name they deserve. It is not about, yes, it could be Fulanis, as the initiators. But as I'm talking to you now, it has become a business because there is technically no business in the North now. Nothing is moving. Like my brother said, I think it was Lidano or somebody. Now, Funtua Gusau axis alone, can be called maybe the food basket of this side. It can feed the whole of this nation. Nobody can go to farm now. In Kaduna, people have abandoned their farms. You can't, a farm between Kaduna and the airport of Kaduna, you either go with security men that will guard you in the farm, or you don't go to farm. Then you don't talk about peasant farmers all over the place. Most of them are being abducted. So, Mr. President, there is serious security problem. And when we say security, we are talking about food security, because like somebody said, my brother Senator Boacha, a day will come when you have your money to buy food, you don't have it. Maybe we would have to resort to importing food, through our airports and so on and so forth. We cannot do it. So, Mr. President, this is a very, very serious problem. However, coming to the comments, I disagree totally with my brother Senator Keita from Katina that employing 5 million security will be the problem. In fact, Mr. President, that is going to cause more problems, because as I'm talking to you now, part of our problem is this. Now, all businesses in Nigeria, or let me say the North, are dead. So the only enterprise, the only thing people can do are just two. One is to join these kidnapping groups for money. Two is to force government to employ people. So we are employing people without nothing for them to do even in government. So that takes us to the next problem. That is, what are the solutions? What are the ways forward? The ways forward, the solution, Mr. President, is to fight corruption. The bottom line of all these things is corruption. Now, people help themselves, when they are in government positions and so on and so forth. Now, the villagers are sitting in the village. They look at you. Maybe they know that before you join this government force or this work or political whatever, this was your status. We know people in this country that were peasants, were almajiris in 1990. Today, they are super billionaires. Their names are being mentioned even on Facebook or whatever as billionaires in themselves. We know them. They have never been into any business in this country. We know it. But they are billionaires, and nobody can question that, and nobody can say anything. So what is the next thing? You either join politics, or if you are in employment, you have to get to where maybe you can have resources and steal. And nobody is saying anything. So, Mr. President, moving forward, like I said, employment is not the solution, certainly, because we cannot employ enough security personnel that can man every community, every village, every town in Nigeria. We cannot do it. I know what I'm talking about. I know how many security personnel we used to have in Zamfara. Even the governor said it. When we used to have just about 1,000 soldiers, we are living in peace. Today we have how many thousands, and the situation keeps deteriorating. Even the state capital is no longer safe. So definitely we cannot continue to employ people, because even if we do, the people we are employing, Mr. President, are Nigerians, and they want to live a good life. They want their children and their wives to travel to Dubai for holiday. They want to attend their good schools. Now, where is the money? The monies we are going to pay them, you know, is not sufficient. Just, I think day before yesterday, I saw a small joke being sent to all Nigerians that congratulations on signing of the 30,000 naira minimum wage. When it was 18,000, it was around $103. Today it is 30,000, it is $83. So, Mr. President, now where are we going to? Mr. President, I equally say no to police state. With due respect to my leader and Deputy Senate President, Mr. President, with the kind of leadership we see, the irresponsible, most of them at state levels, Mr. President, we cannot risk at this point, and I would always say it, we cannot risk state police, because it will be a recipe for total war or total degeneration of law and order. Yes, we have seen it. We have seen it happen during elections. Governors that cannot defend a village, you know, are ready to deploy all the resources of the state, everything, men, material, money, and everything, you know, to defend their success in the ballot box. So we cannot. That is not the answer. Mr. President, the answer to these things, like I said, going forward, Mr. President, is to look at these issues holistically, come out and fight corruption. Let us name them. This is a country where, Mr. President, a Minister of Defense came out to say, from the state he comes from, that the security problems or some emirs are being indicted. But he cannot mention names. Are we waiting, or is he waiting to become president because before he can say it is so-so emir and so-so emir? And since that day to date, no emir, even the emirs came out to say that we challenge you, name the names. Give us the names. The names are not there. The only thing, was it about a week or so, some wretched village heads, 2 of them, were either sacked, suspended, or I don't even know what they did. So, Mr. President, like you rightly said, we need to, at some certain levels in life, you should be able to come out and say something and stand by it and defend it. So who are the people that have a hand in this thing? This thing is no longer anything, it is a business. Now, and it has 2 motives. Number 1 is to bring the North to its knees. And I think we have already reached that. Because there is nothing happening. Maybe if you take Kano out, there is nothing happening anywhere in the North today. Nothing. Where I come from, Gusau, the state capital, we don't even need to, in fact, a lot of us didn't even know government existed in Sokoto at that time. We have businesses to do. But the answer today is no. Everybody relies on government to do these things.
Round up, please.
As a Senate, Mr. President, if we want to come with measures, let us come with measures to fight corruption, criminalize, or once again recriminalize corruption and set standards and make people to follow them and now insist that if you do this or this, this is your reward or this is this. And those people that are doing these things, especially the informants living with us in our towns, everybody knows them. But the issue is you don't dare mention their names. You do it, you are dead tomorrow. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm taking leverage of the fact that you said this is a very serious issue. So, and I think we need to say what it is. So, Mr. President, thank you so much. But I want to say, you know, in moving forward about this things, now we have to be bold. We need to come out and say who are the people, especially, forget the criminals in the bush, are not as half deadly as the ones living with us in the cities. And we know it. And they are our sons, our daughters, our brothers, our sisters, and everybody knows them. We need to come out and say who they are. And we need to come out with ways of fighting this issue before it gets too late. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Uchendu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, I am Andrew Uchendu. I represent Rivers East Senatorial District. Mr. President, this again has become a reoccurring issue in this Senate. Mr. President, you will recall that there is no 1 week a motion of this nature do not come up for discussion. And I heard Mr. President say, look, we should be a little bit more serious in this matter. We should prefer solutions. And there's no need telling long tales anymore. Mr. President, I don't know what next this Senate needs to do. Under your leadership, there was a national retreat on security, and you drafted the key drivers of our security architecture. Parliament couldn't proceed doing any other thing other than to hold this retreat. Conclusions were reached. A subcommittee was set up to study all the contributions and make appropriate recommendations. What we want to ask, where do we go from there? Has anything been done? If nothing has been done, why? We cannot come here every time violence, security, and all that and all that. I thought that may have given us that opportunity to do what we needed to do. I will say that, Mr. President. It is said in my own local area that when people are carrying a corpse along the way, you will think that it's a bundle of wood. Until it gets to you, then you know that it's a corpse. Many years ago, many months down the line, we have brought the case of Niger Delta, and in particular River State. These things that I'm hearing here, and continue to hear virtually every week, have been there with us in River State. And it's like, it's not a serious matter. Now it has gone wrong. I want to make bold to say this, Mr. President. In 2004, people like Senator Aduda, Philip Aduda, they were there with us. And I sponsored a motion on National Youth Development Program. It was intended to address some of these issues. At that time, I wasn't a prophet of doom, but I imagined that if nothing was done, as far back as 2004, when the youth in Niger Delta were ravaging everywhere, kidnapping, maiming, it will go around this country. Because one thing that I know youth know best what to do is to emulate. The demonstration effect has caught up everywhere in this country. I'm sorry to say, His Excellency, Governor Masari was the speaker. That bill, after the second reading of it, because of expiration of time, didn't see the light of day. Because who are the key drivers of this process, of this killing, this violence? The youth. What do they have? They have two important assets: idle time and a lot of energy. And it is also said, an idle brain is the devil's workshop. Until our youths are engaged, Mr. President, this problem will continue to be with us. That is one. Two, let us be realistic. I am saying this based on what I heard Mr. President say. Our lifestyle laid foundation for all this. Mr. President, when we look back, say people like me, we own 3, 4, 5 vehicles. And I'm sure we can do much better with 2. Our contemporaries in UK or US, do they really own 4 vehicles on the road? Suppose we dispose of our 2 vehicles and use the proceeds to set up a small industry. Wouldn't we be engaging 5 youths? And 5 youths, and there are about 1 million people like me, will be taken away from the street. More than 5 million youths of the highway, of our countryside, and engaging them in very productive purposes. Some of us own houses in our village, in the urban center, and in Abuja. Do we need all this? This is what wrong economic policies that led us into doing. And we laid the foundation over the years. And today, we are facing the realities of our time. Therefore, where do we go from here? If we tackle the symptoms, I do not think that we will make any much progress. The most we can do is to have a long-range plan. And that long-range plan is to find a way to come up with appropriate economic policies that will engage these idle hands. For example, I'm talking from experience. Mr. President, I had the opportunity of serving my state as the managing director of the River State government-owned oil palm company called Reason Palm. At its height, we were having only 14,000 hectares. And I had in my employ 4,200 youths. And they were well paid, well catered for, and very happy. Because the pay was a little bit okay, they were accommodated, they were given decent accommodation. Mr. President, we can do this in virtually 12 states of this country. And we'll be taking away 5,000 youths times 12 in the 12 states that are agricultural, that are suitable for oil palm development. And this is a very simple approach. Can we do it? Can we have the political way to do that? And of course it's there. And this parliament is in a position to do all this. Until we go and ensure that these idle hands are engaged, Mr. President, we will continue to face this situation. Thank you very much.
Senator David Moore.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is David Omaru. I represent Niger Senatorial District. Let me also start by sending my condolences to the families of the bereaved, and proceed from there by saying that I wish to thank my brother, Senator Sheosani, for bringing this motion. A lot has been said, Mr. President, on this topic. But let me start by saying that my senatorial district shares boundary with Zamfara State, with Kaduna State, and that as I speak to you, about 40 to 50% of the land mass of my constituency is under siege by these bandits. And some of the fallout of the activities in Zamfara State actually make it possible for these bandits to come to my senatorial district. Some of the areas affected have been mentioned in the motion, but there is a lot more. Mr. President, what is really worrying about this phenomenon is the fact that every day these bandits are conscripting more and more collaborators among the populace and even among the security agencies that have been sent, to help protect the communities. We have reports of even married women acting as informants for these kidnappers. Now, what should be the solution? Part of the problem is that even the soldiers that are sent, you will find that they are not provided with logistics. I have had, to help out, even buying tires for the vehicles of some of these security agencies that have been sent. So it's as bad as that. And the state government has not helped matters because they do nothing to help provide funds for this security, particularly the army. So why does that lead us to? That makes those soldiers to be even vulnerable. And some of them find that as an excuse to collaborate with the kidnappers. Mr. President, I think the only way we can find solution to this problem is to look at it holistically, like it has been said. We must devise short-term goals and long-term solutions. Talking about fighting corruption, there is nowhere in the world that you have had corruption stamped out overnight. This is going to take a long time. But I think what is most important, Mr. President, is to engage again, we should never be tired of that, the security agencies with the aim of establishing special force, call it by whatever name, National Guard or whatever, so that they will have special units in these forests, because that's where the problem is. These bandits have taken residence in all the forests. In Alawa, there is one village, one forest they call Dajingomna. Between Kaduna, the Kamuku forest, which stretches from Kaduna down to part of Niger and also into Zamfara. This is where you find these bandits. They have made that place their abode. Even kidnappers that are, when they do their kidnapping, they send their victims into those forest camps within the forest. And the security agencies or the soldiers don't even go that far. Another problem, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is the fact that every now and then we talk about soldiers. We want soldiers to go, and find solution to this problem. But we forget that while we are doing that, you're making the soldier or the army, you're making them move away from their traditional responsibility, which is protecting the territorial integrity of this nation, and getting them to be performing roles that actually shouldn't be their role. So that is why there is the need to establish a special force that will address this problem. I wouldn't want to take more time, but to thank Mr. President and distinguished colleagues for this opportunity to speak on this issue. Thank you very much.
Prayer 1, observe a minute silence in honor of the departed soul. I think we've already done this. So, prayer 2, urge the security authorities to intensify the search for the perpetrators and bring them to book. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge your government to set up interagency task force to tackle cases of banditry and kidnapping in Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, and Niger State. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, urge security agencies to give special security cover to foreign workers and tourists. Those in favor of prayer 4 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Prayer 5, urge security agencies to immediately deploy the use of drones and interceptors in tracking kidnappers asking for ransom. Those in favor of prayer 5 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 6, urge community leaders, traditional rulers, and all stakeholders to cooperate with security agencies. Those in favor of prayer 6 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 7, urge telecommunication companies to provide security agencies with information in areas where there are kidnappers. Those in favor of prayer 7 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 8, urge the Senate to send a delegation to the embassy and condole the British government. Those in favor of prayer 8 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And prayer 9, urge the federal government to write a condolence letter to the family of Mr. Faye Moni. Prayer 9, yes, DSP.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I don't think this prayer 9 is really essential. I'm aware that the President of the country had sent condolences to the British government. I'm also aware that Minister of Foreign Affairs also made contact with the British High Commissioner. Let us just confine ourselves to the ones we can do instead of getting the executive involved.
Those in favor of prayer 9 say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it. Any additional prayer? Yes, and Roger.
Thank you, Mr. President. My additional prayer should read as government should encourage joint patrol between the locals and security officials. That is, in the local vigilante groups and security officials, the police, army, and in virtually every community, they should be encouraged
Any seconder? Distinguished colleague, I thought in trying to address a holistic approach, I thought we should have had a prayer to also do in line with some of the work we have done so far. If you remember, as a writer, we had done a retreat, we had done a report, and we had done a few recommendations. And if you can recollect, we even invited the heads of the security agencies here and directed them to submit to us what their needs were, and there was no response to date. So what I think is that we should pick it up from here. As we say, we should not get discouraged. I think one of the recommendations is to go back and re-engage them, that in view of where we are, whether again we should find a way of our committees to re-engage the heads of the security agencies. DSP here.
Now that we have a new head of police, and the other one that was not interested in discussing with us is gone, we lose nothing if we invite the current IG to give us a holistic view of the state of kidnapping in the country and what they are doing to address the issue. So I would like to recommend further that we invite the acting Inspector General of Police to come and brief the Senate next week on the situation, security situation, especially kidnapping across Nigeria.
Okay. Anybody second? Any seconder to this? Yes, Senator Marifa.
Yes, Mr. President, Senator Marafa, I rise to second the prayer that the Senate invite the acting Inspector General of Police to come and brief the Senate, especially to the initiative he put in place, that is Operation Bob Ada, on its successes and challenges, and what maybe the legislature can do to support the operation to succeed.
And those in favor of the additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Also, just in line, I'll come just in line with some of these actions that we have taken. I think that maybe the bills that we passed on the police reform and trust fund, maybe leader also can take it with our counterparts in the House to see that we can get concurrence and have it both bills sent to the President so we can get an assent on that as quick as possible. So from here, I will take that also as a prayer that we've agreed, if we all concur on that, and I will that we agree on that. Yes, any other additional prayer? Yes, Senator Raji.
Additional prayer that the President should prepare to sign the Peace Corps bill so that, yes, so that most of these youth can be engaged.
Any seconder? Also, I think, is there any other additional prayer? Yes, Senator Barajibri.
Barajibri Kano North. The additional prayer is this: urge state governments to complement what the federal security agencies are doing by acquiring. Wait now, allow me. By acquiring equipment used in intercepting communications, by kidnappers. So because my state government did that, and that's why we do not have problem of kidnappings in Kano any longer. He spent 500 million. The state government spent 500 million naira to buy equipment that is now being used to intercept their communications. That's why you don't have kidnappers any longer in Kano. So I want other state government to emulate this kind of, what my state government has done, so that they can also help in dealing with this situation.
And second, distinguished colleagues, I thank you all for your contributions on this subject matter, and we need, as I said, for us to address this take these hard, difficult decisions that we need to take, and have a more structural approach to the issue of security. As I said, we lost a lot of time. There was very little cooperation with the head of the police. We hope with this new acting IG and the good actions we have taken in the issue of the bills we passed on police reform and trust shows that we are ready to work very closely with them to see how they can be successful. And we hope that with this, maybe we'll begin to see some improvement in the security situation in the country. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the Conference Committee report on the process of crimes Bill 2019. Distinguished senators will recall that the Senate and the House passed different versions of process of crimes Bill 2019. The Conference Committee of both houses have met and harmonized differences in accordance with Senate Standing Order 87. Mr. President, may we invite distinguished Senator David Umaru to move the motion for the Senate to consider the conference report.
David Umaru.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, the report is not ready. We need a little bit more time.
Yeah, Senator, I was informed by Senator Otazi as well that the report is not ready and that you needed more time and you're hoping that you should be able to be ready by next Tuesday. They just came down the chambers. So, leader, if you can stand it down for tonight, they're not ready.
Mr. President, in the light of the absence of the report, I move that we stand down the consideration of the third order to another legislative day.
Mr. President, I second that we stand down this report for another legislative day.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, equally, I move that we stand down the consideration of the fourth order of the day till another legislative day.
I second that we stand down the fourth order for another legislative day. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Thursday, 17th January 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Jibrin Barau, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Barau.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barau Jibrin, Arwata North. Mr. President, I stand to move that this August Senate do consider a report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund, the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2019 SB 561. I so move.
Senator Sani.
I, Senator Shehu Sani, move that the Senate second that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Appeal for the Act to repeal the National Commission for Colleges for Education Act number 3 of 1989 and reenact the National Commission for Teacher Education and other related matters 2018. I so support.
Very well, thank you. Distinguished colleagues, in support of the motion that the Senate do not consider this report, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You can present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, I'm Senator Barau Jibrin. I represent Kaduna North in this August Senate. I stand to read the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and TED Fund, a bill for the Act to repeal the National Commission of Colleges for Education Act number 3, 1989, and reenact the National Commission for Teacher Education and Other Related Matters 2018 SB 561. Mr. President, you may wish to recall that the Senate at its sitting on Thursday, 17th day of October 2018, referred the above bill, sponsored by myself, to the Committee for further legislative input. Consequently, Mr. President, the committee held a public hearing on Thursday, the 13th day of December 2018, in order to garner the input of the public and critical stakeholders. The committee, as well as participants, agreed with the intent of the bill. Participants were all in agreement that the repeal of National Commission of Colleges of Education Act and reenactment of the National Commission for Teacher Education will reposition the institutions offering teacher education programs at all levels in Nigeria by bringing them under one regulatory agency. Committee's recommendation. Committee's findings. The National Commission for Colleges of Education, NCCE, is the regulatory body for all NC awarding institutions in Nigeria. However, due to proliferation of other bodies who run satellite, part-time and distant learning programs, the NCCE is considered to properly regulate these types of training, hence the need to make a new law. The bill, when enacted, will give the regulatory body clearer mandate and power to regulate, monitor, and manage all teacher education programs. The establishment of a college, of all colleges of education and all allied institutions in Nigeria. The bill is divided into 19 sections and contains one schedule. Committee's recommendations. The committee recommends as follows. 1. Sections 1 to 16 should be retained as in the bill. 2. The long and short titles of the bill should be retained. And 3. The schedule of the bill should also be retained. Conclusion. The committee recommends that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria do approve its recommendations accordingly. The committee wishes to express profound gratitude to the entire Senate for its usual support. Mr. President, I so submit.
Very well, thank you. Mr. Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate is going to consider the report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do resolve into committee of the whole to consider this report as so second.
Dear colleagues, those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Seventh order of the day is consideration of bill perhaps to establish the Counseling Practitioners Council of Nigeria, conduct qualifying examinations, regulate the counseling profession for related matters. Honorable members who recall the bill was submitted to Commission on Thursday, 11th.
Well, dear colleagues, a very straightforward bill, and the committee chairman had recommended the passage of all the clauses. So we proceed. Those in support of clause 1 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support of clauses 2 to 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support of clauses 11 to 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support that the schedule, the explanatory memorandum, short title and long title stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Leader.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse to plenary for the charge to report progress.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the chair reverse to plenary to report progress as so second.
Dear colleagues, in support that the chair now report progress say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
To be saddled with the responsibility of road traffic management and motor
Dear colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 20 as recommended, schedule as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. This is a true reflection of transpired the Committee of the Whole. Thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read at that time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be now read a third time. I so second.
Dear colleagues, in support of the motion that the bill be read third time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to repeal the National Board for Technical Education Act and enactment of the National Commission for Technical, Vocational and Entrepreneurial Education as a body corporate to advise the federal government on all aspects of technical, vocational and entrepreneurial education which fall outside the scope of the universities and other matters ancillary thereto, 2019, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal the National Board for Technical Education Act and enactment of the National Commission for Technical, Vocational and Entrepreneurial Education as a body corporate to advise the federal government on all aspects of technical, vocational and entrepreneurial education which fall outside the scope of universities and other matters ancillary thereto, 2019, third reading taken and passed. I would like to thank all of us for the conclusion of work on this bill. I believe that with the state of unemployment in Nigeria, we need to further emphasize the issue of entrepreneurs, the issue of vocational education, so that we'll be able to provide avenues for our young people to be meaningfully engaged. So this is a very important bill. I'd like to thank the chairman for concluding the work on this bill in earnest. Thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the Federal Cooperative Colleges Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was led on Tuesday, 9th April 2019. Mr. President, once again, we wish to invite Senator Jibrin Barrow to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Senator Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kano North. Mr. President, I stand to move that this August Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund, the Federal Cooperative Colleges Bill, Bill 2019 SB 418. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Sabia Bulai.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Aliu Sabia Abdullahi, Niger North. I rise to second that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Tertiary Education on an act to establish the federal cooperative colleges and matters connected with it. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in support of the motion that the Senate do not consider this bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Can now proceed, Senator Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand to read the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institution and Third Fund on the bill for an act to establish the federal cooperative colleges and matters connected with SB 418, 2018. Introduction. Mr. President, you may wish to recall that the Senate is sitting on Wednesday, 28th day of February 2018, referred the above bill sponsored by Deputy Senate President Senator E.K. Kodemadu to the Committee for further legislative input. Consequently, the committee held a public hearing on Tuesday, the 10th day of July 2018 to get the input of the public and stakeholders. The committee, as well as the participants, agree with the intendment of the bill. Participants were all in agreement that the establishment of the federal cooperative colleges will provide necessary support and statutory framework for the already established colleges at Oji River, Enugu State, Ibadan, Oyo State, and Kaduna State. For the new ones also to be established in South-South, North-East, and North-Central. Committee's findings. In 1976, 3 federal cooperative colleges located in Oji River, Ibadan, and Kaduna were established by the federal government to address the growing need of the cooperative education in Nigeria. Presently, the colleges offer courses leading to award of certificates, professional diplomas, national diploma, and higher national diploma in cooperative studies. Although the staffers of the colleges were initially appointed as civil servants, their role and work schedule have changed from that of civil servants to educators in tertiary education institutions. The establishment of the federal cooperative colleges bill will provide for each of the colleges a governing council, office of the provost, academic board, functions and powers, and method of appointments of the staff of these institutions. The Federal Cooperative Colleges Bill is divided into 17 sections and contains 2 schedules. Committee's recommendations. The committee recommends as follows. Section 1 to 6 should be retained as in the bill. Section 2, the long and short title of the bill should be retained. And 3, the schedule of the bill should also be retained. Conclusion. The committee recommends that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria do approve its recommendations accordingly. The committee wishes to express its profound gratitude to the entire Senate for its usual support. Mr. President, I so submit.
Very well, thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolution to committee of the vote to consider the report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate dissolve into committee of the whole to consider this report. I so second. The Senate colleagues don't support that the Senate do dissolve into a committee of the whole to consider this report. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Their colleagues don't support that clause 1 stamp out of bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those support that clauses 16 to 17 stamp out of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those support that schedule, explanatory memorandum, short title and long title stamp out of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. State Leader.
Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse to plenary for the charge of progress.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate now do revert to plenary to report progress as well second. Their colleagues don't support that chair now report progress, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the Federal Cooperative Colleges Bill 2019 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 16 as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? All right, thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second that this bill be now read the third time. I so second. Dear colleagues, those in support that this bill be read third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Back of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of federal cooperative colleges and other related matters related with 2019, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of federal cooperative colleges and other related matters connected therewith, 2019, third reading taken and passed. Again, I would like to thank the chairman of the committee for the diligence in considering this bill and bringing it before us today for passage. I'd like to thank all of us for our cooperation to ensure the passage of this bill. With this bill, we now have a framework for the colleges of education in this country, and also set up parameters for the establishment of new ones. And I believe that this is a good step we've taken today. So I want to thank all of us for your contribution. Thank you. Mr. Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the Federal University of Education, Kontagora, Niger State Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Distinguished senators will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Thursday, the 24th day of January 2019. Mr. President, once again, you may wish to invite Senator Jurin Barau to move the motion for the consideration of the report.
Mr. Barau.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Barau Jibri. I come from Kano North. I represent Kano North. This is August Senate. Mr. President, I stand to move that this August Senate will consider a report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund and the Federal University of Education, Kontagora, Niger State, entitled ETC Bill 2019 SB 689. Mr. President, I so move.
Mr. Sabia, are you interested in this bill? Okay. Express it then.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Aliu Sabi of the Niger North. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do consider the report of the committee on a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Education, Kontagora, Niger State. I so second.
Dear colleagues, those in support of the motion that Senate do not consider this report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Barau, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand to read the report of the committee on the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal University of Education, Kontagora, Niger State, Bill 2018 SB 689. Mr. President, you may wish to recall that the Senate at its sitting on Wednesday, the 16th day of July 2016, referred the above bill. The 18th day of July 2018 referred the above bill sponsored by Senator Aliu Sabi Abdullahi to the committee for further legislative input. The bill seeks to establish the Federal University of Education, Kontagora, by upgrading the existing Federal College of Education, Kontagora. The committee held a public hearing on Monday, 10th day of December 2018, to get the input of the public and stakeholders. The committee, as well as participants, agree with the intendants of the bill. Participants were all in agreement that the tertiary education sector, which has consistently produced the required top-up of the range manpower in science and technology, health services, business, agriculture, as well as politics and administration, is not equipped to produce enough top-level specialist teachers for the entire school system. Universities of education will serve this purpose, as well as produce all-level specialist teachers for the entire educational system, including the professional needs of the conventional and other universities. The committee refined it. The College of Education Kontagora was established in 1978 and landmass of 47 square hectares. The institution runs degree programs in affiliation with Ahmadu Bello University's area. There are more than 300 any staff currently teaching in the institution, including over 30 PhD holders. There is no financial implication to this bill. All the operational structures are already in place, and the university will take off from the existing Federal College of Education from Kontagora. Hence, the college has all it takes, both human and material resources, to stand as a full-fledged University of Education. The Federal University of Education Kontagora bill is divided into 28 sections in 5 parts and contains 3 schedules. Mr. President, let me say that as we always maintain on this floor, that we are short of universities such as this. Smaller countries than Nigeria have hundreds of universities. But paucity of fund has been the problem. You are aware, Mr. President, that the last administration, that is Jonathan's administration, gave the note to upgrade 4 universities, 4 colleges of education, 5 of them, to universities. You have Alma Ikoko from the southeast, ADME College of Education from the southwest. You have Federal College of Education Kano and that of Zaria. But when this government came on board, we decided to put that on hold. That has not been implemented. So we thought that the best thing is to make sure that those ones are funded and allowed to be so upgraded. Despite the fact that, as I said earlier, we need more of these universities. For this situation we found ourselves, and we decided at committee level that we should give the go-ahead or recommend to the entire Senate to get this bill passed. But I just want to remind the Senate so that it will be on record that we still have this problem that has not been solved. In fact, there was a bill to establish a similar institution that was brought for concurrence, but it was put on hold. So we may decide to pass this so that it will be a kind of reminder to the executive that we still need more of these institutions. But I just say this so that it will be put on record, so that we understand our situation. Committee recommendation. The committee recommends as follows: Section 1 to 27 should be retained as in the bill. The long and short titles of the bill should be retained. The first, second, and third schedule of the bill should be retained, and the explanatory memorandum should also be retained. Conclusion. The committee recommends that the Senate Federal Republic of Nigeria do approve its recommendations accordingly. The passing of this bill into law will upgrade the Federal College of Education Kontagora to university that will provide a holistic development of teacher education. The committee wishes to express its profound gratitude to the entire Senate for its usual support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Sir Leader.
Mr. President, I'm very distinguished colleagues. I move that the Senate endorse this committee of the board to consider the report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate resolve into committee of the whole to consider this report. Distinguished colleagues, those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Dear colleagues, those in support of clause 1, start part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, those in support of clauses 2 to 10, start part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support of clauses 11 to 20, start part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support of clauses 21 to 28, start part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support of schedules 1 2 and 3. Explanatory memorandum, short title and long title, start part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Still leader.
Chairman, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate reverse the plenary for the charge of both projects.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate reverse the plenary to report progress as so second.
Their colleagues don't support that chair now report progress, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Very distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the Federal University of Education, Katangara, Niger State, Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, are approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 27 as recommended, Schedule 1 to 3 as recommended, Explanatory memorandum as recommended, short title, which is Clause 28 as recommended, long title as recommended. It is a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole. Thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be now read the third time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be now read the third time. I so second.
Their colleagues don't support that this bill be read the third time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Education, Kontagora, Niger State, and for other related matters connected thereto, 2019, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Education, Katangara, Niger State, and for other related matters connected therewith, 2019, third reading taken and passed. Once more, I'd like to thank Senator Jibril Barrow and his committee for the commitment to the passage of all these bills relating to the establishment of tertiary institutions across Nigeria. I think today we have also provided additional opportunity for our young ones to receive a university education. Importantly, too, is that we are following the trend all over the world to upgrade our colleges of education and polytechnics to a degree within institutions, and I think it's the best way to go. So once more, I'd like to thank all of you that contributed in the consideration and passage of this bill. Thank you. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the eighth and last order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Culture and Tourism on the sale of the National Theatre and Tafawa Balewa Square, Lagos. Mr. President, may wish to invite Senator Fatima Raji Rasaki to move the motion for the Senate to consider the report of the committee.
Senator Raji Rasaki.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Fatima Raji Rasaki. I represent the Central Senatorial District. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Culture and Tourism on the sales of the National Theatre and the Tafawa Balewa Square, Lagos, and other national monuments. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Gabriel Enugu East. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion that Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Culture and Tourism on the sales of the National Theatre and Tafawa Balewa Square, Lagos. I shall second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, don't support that Senate do not consider this report, say aye. Those against saying nay, the ayes have it. Distinguished Senator, have the
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. A report on proposed sale of the National Theatre and the Tafawa Balewa Square, Lagos, by the government of Nigeria. I wish to recall that the Senate, at its sitting on Wednesday, 28th December 2017, in this hallowed chamber, debated a motion on the proposed sale of the National Theatre and the Tafawa Balewa Square, Lagos, by the government, and resolved to mandate the Senate Committee on Culture and Tourism to identify and articulate various edifices to be classified as national monuments and report back to the Senate. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I had the privilege to sponsor the motion on the 20th December 2017, following the report carried by almost all the daily newspapers on Tuesday, 20th November 2017, on the proposed sale of the National Theatre and Tafawa Balewa Square, Lagos, by the government of Nigeria, purported to raise more funds to finance the budget. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Senate was seriously disturbed by the fact that Tafawa Balewa Square represents the landmark on which Nigeria got instruments of nationhood at a ceremony on the morning of 1st of October 1960, when the Union Jack was lowered down and the green, white, green national flag was raised and posted. The National Theatre was specifically built to hold the second Black and African Arts Festival named the Festival of Art and Culture, FESTAC 77, where all Blacks across the globe gather to celebrate the uniqueness of the Black race. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I wish to announce with heavy hearts the passing on to glory of the GM of National Theatre, who sad event occurred on Monday, 22nd April 2019, in the ghastly motor accident. We have so rest in peace. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this institution and structure occupy historical landmark monuments and serve as a symbol of our nationhood, desires and attainments. The economic and cultural values are immeasurable to our cultural pride, and symbol of nationhood that can be readily developed as tourist attraction and also for the teaching of history and civic studies. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is for aforementioned reasons that I personally move the motion that the plan by the government to sell this structure should not be allowed to continue. The committee traveled to all the locations. Those examined on Lagos Island, there was an inspection of the premises of the President House, formerly the Governor's General Lodge at Marina, the Minister of Finance building of Marina in Lagos, the Prime Minister's Lodge at Onikon, Lagos, and the premises of ECOWAS in Lagos, the Tafawa Balewa Square, and the field adjoining it, Independence Building, which is the 23-story building of the Federal Government Administration by Tafawa Balewa Square, the main building of King's College, Lagos, at Igoshere, the Cabinet Office, Lagos, Dodam Barrack, undergoing the process of abandonment and decay, the National Museum, Lagos Library and Archives to consult and search for information of the relevant monuments, the main hall of the Nigerian Railway Station at Ido on the mainland, the National Theatre at Igomu, Lagos. We traveled to Aba to inspect the old consulate building, now Johnson, and the National Museum of Colonial History, Aba. At Lokoja, the Lugard Secretariat, Jeba, the old Niger Bridge, and the old bridge at Makurdi over the river Benue. The conclusion. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the committee has adequately concluded work on this assignment given to me by the Senate and hereby present its report containing 32 edifices, 8 natural sites, and 4 technological structures, hereby attached, put together, and recommended sale to be classified as national monuments. On behalf of the members of the committee, I wish to sincerely thank you all for this opportunity given to us to serve in this regard. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity. First of all, I must commend Senator Rasaki. In the last 3 years, she has been very passionate about the need for the preservation of our historical landmarks and monuments. I've seen how she has brought in motions after motions and stood here to speak. And when she speaks, I see myself in her, in the very sense that the issues she raises are important as far as our history is concerned. Mr. President, some few months ago, I took a visit to the National Archives in Kaduna, one of the first in Nigeria. I was shocked to see documents dating back to hundreds and thousands of years about our history. Virtually, if we don't do anything about it, one day a simple spark of fire can bring those things to an end. These historical monuments are part of our soul and also our historic identity, one that we must keep for this and future generations to look back and see what has been done, and also to remind them that there was a journey that took us to this long. It is ironic for Nigerians to leave our historical monuments to the state of disrepair, and then we travel to countries as Egypt, UK, and US to visit historic monuments of those countries. If we so desire to boost tourism in our country, when people come to our country, it's not to see the beautiful buildings we have here today, it's to also have an experience, and a physical experience of our history as black people, as an African. Mr. President, I visited some of the slave monuments in Lagos, Badagry. I also seen how the government of Benin Republic were able to do and keep their own in order in Ouida, Benin Republic. I've also seen how the slave castle in Ghana has generated hundreds of millions of dollars to the government of Ghana. I've also been to Gori Island in Senegal. I've seen how the government of Senegal was able to invest, and that has also been generating a lot of money for the government of that country. It is unfortunate when we have it as part of our national stanza that the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. When we have monuments they left behind as a reminder for us in our history, and then they end up where they are, I think it is a big shame. Itafa Abalewa Square is one square that anyone who is elected here as a senator or member, as a rep, or as a legislator must see that as the seed, as the beginning of the journey that led us to where we are today. And we can't allow such things to happen. Enough time, enough is enough. We should stop taking our children to show them receptions in the five-star hotels and other things. Take them to those places and see what has happened to our country from the 50s, 60s, and to where it is today. National Theatre, on the last note, is one theatre I believe that we must keep. Enough of this trying to sell our assets to raise revenue to fund the budget. Okay, if we sell all these things now to fund the 2019 or 2020 budget, what are we going to sell for 2021? What do we have to show? I think we have to devise ways and means of funding them, putting them in fair, and also advertising them to the world, for the world to come and see that we are not a nation that just came up yesterday. We come from a journey that brought us together through amalgamation, through the period of independence, the civil war, military coup, and now democracy. Mr. President, this report, we must take it seriously as a document, as a manual in which we can preserve our history for the future generations of Nigerians. Thank you very much.
That is Senator Yusuf.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf, Taraba Central. The committee has done a wonderful job, and I also support some of the issues raised by my brother, Senator Sheikh Husani, but I want to see if we can add value to the report. Selling may not be the best option at this point in time, or may not be option at all, but what do we do with these assets? I'm aware Tafawa Balewa Square is under concession, which came through Bureau of Public Enterprises. And up to today, it has not been managed well at all. It has been engulfed into one judicial crisis or the other. But I think that the fundamental issue is what do we do with them if we do not sell them? I don't support we sell them, but what do we do with them? So I would want to suggest if we can add value to the report by providing a resolution to find able concessionaires who will take full charge and control to give these edifices financial and economic value so that they can raise money for the government instead of outright selling them. I thought, I should bring this issue because in the Committee of Trade and Investment, I know how we battle with the concession of Tafawa Balewa Square, and up till now we have not solved the problem. So I think it's a matter of, changing our attitude towards how do we manage these assets successfully, viably, and feasibly so that they can generate money for the government. Thank you very much.
Does any person have any particular problem with this report? Okay, let me put the question then. Do you support that the 32 edifices, 8 natural sites, and 4 technological structures identified in the report to be classified as national monuments? Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished Senator Rajesh Asaki, we want to thank you. And just as Sheikh Sani has said, I think what remains for us to maintain these national monuments and ensure that they do not decay, and also the contribution of the institute that they be well managed, through a structured concession or whatever, so that they can be maintained adequately, so that they will continue to pride in those natural monuments as part of our history. So we hope that the recommendations here will help us to not only just identify these sites, but also to maintain them and ensure that some other ones will feature join as national monuments. So this is not the end of the story. I'm sure that as we progress, we'll be able to identify more sites that can be adequately described as national monuments. So I want to thank you again for your commitment to conclude this work. So having said this, distinguished colleagues, I'm now inviting the Senate Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues. Having exhausted all the items on the order paper, I hereby move that this Senate do adjourn to Tuesday next week, 30th day of April 2019 at 10 a.m. prompt.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I ask to second the motion that this Senate now do adjourn to Tuesday, 30th of April at 10 a.m. prompt as so second.
Dear colleagues, in support of the motion, I Senate do adjourn to Tuesday, the 30th day of April 2019 at 10 a.m. prompt. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate accordingly adjourned.
Peace, beauty, and power in unity, we must be united in heart and in mind. That makes us one world, one people. Let's stop violence. Thank you for being part of today's plenary. Hope to see you next week, Tuesday, the 30th day in the month of April 2019. Until then, thank you, and let's stay united.